It's not that you're trapped by your beliefs, it's that you can do it anyway. Feeling fear or feeling discomfort is normal and natural. It's just a terrible reason not to get paid what you're worth.
Welcome, coaches, to the Coaching Magic Podcast, where we reveal, discover, and create the insights, tools, and aha moments that make your coaching seem, well, magical. I'm your host, Jill Young, and I invite you to listen up, giddy up, and buckle up as we play with this creative profession of coaching that helps humans become their best, including you. Today's episode is with my good friend and best-selling author, Casey Brown. Casey is my go-to person when it comes to money matters and pricing. And today she offers us so much gold. Some of the things that are still sticking with me, one of the sentences is, resistance is impossible if we are asking questions. She changes convincing into illuminating, and she gives us a 3-step process for taking all the weirdness, all that weird, funky energy out of the pricing conversation when we are creating clients. So coaches, sit down, buckle up, and enjoy. Because this is what we do on the Coaching Magic Podcast. We just start.
Perfect.
Casey, I'm so excited to, number one, just hang out with you for an hour.
Same. It's a bright spot on my calendar for the whole week.
We have known each other for about 10 years. Is that true? Yep,
Wow.
about 10 years. You
That
have
is true.
been so influential in my own life. There's probably at least 2 or 3 times a quarter where I will hear Casey Brown saying something in my ear. So thank you. My own life, but also the lives of my clients, my business clients, my coaching clients, the coaches that I coach. There's just threads of Casey Brown and your brilliance running all through my mind often. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Very humbling to hear. Thanks. I'm glad it makes a difference.
It just is so much different. Somehow you were able to simplify things for me and shift my mindset on a few things. So let's just jump right into it, shall we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Coaches, today's the money episode. Woo woo!
Yeah. Get
Heck
paid.
yeah. Say that again, Casey.
I said, heck yeah, get paid.
Get paid. Get paid.
Right?
Oh, this, let's start with what the fuck is going on with
Yes.
money? Why does
Yes.
money mess with our minds?
Whew.
And maybe it's human minds, but maybe coaches' minds. Maybe I'll sprinkle some things
Sure.
in there, but
Sure.
like, why does money mess with our minds?
I mean, that's a very rich question that we could probably spend the whole time on. So I'll try to kind of hit some of the highlights and we can dive
Yes.
deep if you want to. But, part of it is every human being has a money story, right? Meaning we were born into a family or a family situation or whatever we were born into. And those people that cared for us as children had their own stories about money, right? And we had a certain amount of resources. So maybe you grew up, rich, or you grew up poor, or you grew up hearing rich people are bad or poor people are bad, or money doesn't grow on trees, or money is the root of all evil, or it's rude to talk about money, or like there's just a million, like we swim around in beliefs and stories and judgments about money from the time we're born. And then go on to have our own experiences as we start to earn our own money, and we have some or we don't have very much, or and we want to hold on to it. It's a scarce resource. It's the source of being able to pay for some things in our lives that are really important to us. Even if we don't consider ourselves materialistic or money hungry people, we do have needs and wants in our life that are really, truly important to us. And money makes a lot of those things a lot easier. So you just look at how pervasive that is. We're in it and around it every day of our lives pretty much. And so when you kind of zoom out and look at it from that context, it's really no surprise that it messes with us. I think the where it becomes a problem is if we haven't sort of diagnosed our own, money story a little bit.
Mhm.
Like I grew up on the wrong side of the poverty line, wrong side of the tracks, never homeless, never hungry, but close on both accounts. And sometimes scarcity around money can come up and make me think unhelpful things, say unhelpful things, do unhelpful things
Mhm.
because it just grabs a hold of you. And I think like how whatever the money story is that any person listening to this holds, it's not bad or wrong. It's just my stake in this as a pricing geek is that it not be the reason that you don't get paid what you're truly worth,
Yeah.
that it doesn't stop you from asking for enough. And this is where I'll thread it together a little bit with coaches specifically, because coaches, at least everyone that I know, got into coaching not because they were like, how can I make the very top dollar selling stuff? They love people and they love helping and they love serving.
Mm.
They love connecting. And for many coaches, the selling part of the job is the miserable part of the job. They hate that part. They have to do it. It's the necessary evil. Now, that's not true of all coaches, but it's true of plenty of them. And so they have kind of a kind of a dark idea about what selling is, like it's manipulating people or trying to convince people of something or whatever. And you add that kind of dark archetype of, some kind of like, used car salesman together with your money story, and it can get really challenging. And a lot of people would honestly rather ac- ask for less and accept less than to lean into the discomfort of those two areas. And coaches, I see this quite a lot.
Oh, well, you have set that up for us perfectly. I feel like I want to go back and listen to all of this and rewind it and listen to it 17 times. It's the it's, coaches, what I'm hearing Casey just set up for us is, in my mind, I call this the perfect storm. The perfect storm. And in psychology, what she's just painted for us is that we have these money stories. In psychology, we call them schemas. It's like, oh, this is the way the world works. And I'm remembering one time when one of my schemas broke around money
Uh-huh.
is I was, riding my bike with my son Dylan. We were in Norway riding our bikes, and there was a couple who had stopped on the side of the road, and we stopped because there was a water source, and we were just talking to them.
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, yeah, we just stopped for some lunch." And what I started to notice is they did not bring their lunch. They were foraging for their lunch. They were picking berries and they were eating, and I'm like, "What is this? What is it?" I'm a pretty vulnerable person. I ask lots of curious questions. Said, "Hey, is this what you're having for lunch? Berries?" "Yep." And I thought, "Is there did they didn't pay for that lunch. Is there food on this planet that I wouldn't need to pay for?" I mean, it just broke and challenged this schema that if here's one of my childhood stories. If you don't work, you don't get paid. If you don't have money, you don't eat. If you don't,
Right.
uh-huh.
Right.
So when
Right.
so coaches like these schemas that our clients come in with that we have, can we just like my story, it just got in there, it just weaseled its way in there just a little bit. And from there, it's just continued to
Right.
uh, open up and open up.
Yeah.
So those money stories, woo, 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 woo,
Yeah.
woo. Casey, what would you say? Um, when you're coaching, when you're leading your clients through this, how do you open up the money story? Maybe this tight schema, this vault. What are
Yeah.
what are one or two ways that you open that up?
Well, we just I mean, kind of just talk about it, like, what do you believe to be true about money? And we have a list of a whole bunch of money beliefs. And by the way, like, even the ones that can be self-limiting, I will reiterate, I don't think they're wrong or bad.
No, not
Nobody's
wrong.
bad
No.
for feeling it, believing it, thinking it, being taught that by their parents or whatever. I just am a fan of let's not let these things limit us. So we will like list a bunch of these out and then we'll say, who has these? Who can see themselves in any of these beliefs? Any missing that believe you heard, like, and just hearing you say, like, if you don't work, you don't, earn money. And if you don't earn money, you don't eat. Like, so there is which now we're getting just outside of money too. We're getting into the stories we have about work and
Mm,
worthiness of work and all
mhm.
kinds of things, right? There's a lot there. But that's one way is just to really start to talk about it. And we had I remember this one workshop so specifically because we were talking about not just money, but buying habits and what we think is the right way to buy things. Like
Mhm.
there are people that will pour over consumer reports, go to 7 stores, ask all their
Mhm.
friends, think about it for a long time, and there are other folks that walk right in, plunk the credit card down and walk right out. Right. And I tend to be a little bit more like that second person. And I say it's because I'm busy, but honestly, that's just I make decisions very quickly. Not everybody does. Nothing wrong with that. But in this one workshop I'm thinking of, there was a man who had taken 6 months to buy a garden hose. He'd been researching, thinking, shopping, talking, evaluating, looking for coupons, like 6 months trying to make up a decision about a garden hose. Another woman in the same workshop had bought a house sight unseen
Mm,
across the country by somebody that had taken some video tours and photographs of the house basically, and she bought
mhm.
that, like, I don't know, several $100,000, I don't know how much it was, across the country, sight unseen, overnight because she had to move the following weekend, right? And these 2 they could not understand each other's worldviews. Like,
Mm,
they both looked crazy to the other person. Like,
mm,
why? Like, neither one could even step into the other's shoes. Those are pretty extreme examples, obviously, right? But I think when it comes to the world that I operate in with my work, which is about teaching people to sell their value, stand confidently in their value and ask for the price that reflects that. These, to use your word, schemas, these frameworks, these beliefs are showing up in ways we aren't present to, we aren't aware of. We aren't aware when we say this number, and here's one for me. My dad was a day laborer on a construction crew for most of my life, and then later on in my childhood, he became a truck driver. And I remember so viscerally the day that I made a quote for a project that was going to be more than my father had ever made in a year as in providing for our family of 5. And I'm a, quote unquote pricing expert. I'm like good at this, right? But my stomach was in my throat. I was hot. My face felt hot. I felt shaky. I was like scared. I had all kinds of emotional stuff come up. Now, I did it anyway, right? Like, so this is the sort of if there's a so what of all of this, it's not that you're
mhm.
trapped by your beliefs, it's that you can do it anyway. Feeling fear or feeling discomfort is normal and natural. It's just a
Mhm.
terrible reason not to get paid what you're worth.
Yes.
So be uncomfortable, be afraid, be a little squeamish about it, but recognize that you deserve to be paid for your value and push through the discomfort.
Um, Casey, you have just given us, again, just so many rich examples. Sometimes on the Coaching Magic podcast, we take a timeout, and the timeout is to just be aware of what you, Casey, have just done. So I'm going to point out a few things. I'm, I'm going to go meta level. I'm going to zoom out and just point out what I have just seen you do that is coaching magic. Then
Thanks.
we're going to go back to the content. Coaches, a couple of things Casey just said is awareness. Get people just into the awareness that this is a thing. Sometimes we're so zoomed in on something we can't even see it. She's asking people to just name or see, get it outside of here, their unconscious into their conscious, and just list it out. And that's one way she opens it up. The other thing that Casey was using right here to explain this beautiful concept is if you notice, she used extreme examples in her stories this is one way of teaching concepts to your clients, to learning them for yourself, because we get to see the extreme, the edges. Usually we can see ourselves somewhere in there. So, like Casey, I don't know if you knew that what you were doing, but that's also brilliant. Stories, clearly. Um, and Casey, like the way that you will bring your descriptions of what's going on, you bring them into, we're going to take action.
Mhm.
So coaches, we always want to leave our clients with some kind of action. And Casey's just her description is just leading us to some kind of action. So Casey, I'm just wondering, do you have any idea what you just did, all this coaching magic? Are you aware
Well,
of
I'm
that?
delighted to listen to you describe it, and I'm learning from you as I'm hearing you describe it. I think there's some intuitive. So I think, I mean, I know a lot about pricing, but I don't really describe that as my own, to use a strategic coach or Dan Sullivan or a Gino Wickman term. It's not my unique ability. I think it's making complex things simple and
Mhm.
helping people turn that into action. So I happen to do that in the realm of pricing because that's something I know a lot about. But if I'd have had a career in something else, I think I'd still be using those skills in other ways. And so that I'm have some competency with it is not news to me, but I don't know anything about the structural or, like
Yeah.
hearing you describe, like, yeah, that of course that would make it easier to teach
Mhm.
something. But I don't, I wish I could tell you I had a really rigorous framework for how I talk about this stuff, but it's just years of experience, I suppose, and some innate ability and skin knees too. A lot of mistakes,
Mhm.
like doing it wrong, finding that what doesn't work has helped me course correct and figure out how to talk about this in ways that people really understand.
Yeah, that's what we call coaching magic. It comes up in you.
Yeah.
It comes up and out. And
Yep.
this intuition piece, we like the definition in coaching magic of pattern recognition outside conscious awareness.
Yes.
Pattern recognition outside
100%.
conscious awareness. So, I mean, coaches, listen, Casey's like, no, I was not taught that. I don't have this rigorous framework. But, she senses that's like her intuitive ability. So, okay. Whew. Now we have geeked out on the
Coaching
the
stuff.
meta
I love
level of
it.
your coaching, and thank you for letting us do that. But,
Sure.
all of the coaches are on pins and needles, including me. Let's get to some skills.
Okay.
Let's get to, we kinda know what's going on. We know
Mhm.
we know why it's important. You've mentioned several times that we're going to do it anyway. You've mentioned several times, get paid what we're worth. I know
Mhm.
you're big. Your book, I got to do a plug for your book. It's
Thank
right
you.
here on my chair. I'm going to hold it up.
Oh, thank you.
Fearless pricing. Because there is some fear with it. There
That's
is
the
some
biggest
fear with
problem.
it. Yeah, and
The biggest problem.
one of my favorite coaches, Phil Stutz, he says we are never exonerated from pain, uncertainty, and doubt. If you think you're going to someday be like, oh, not fearful, like just go. No, it's going to be. I'm going to feel those emotions, and then I'm going to do these skills. So I know you're in that same realm.
100%.
So let's
100%.
talk skills. If you
Okay.
were Here's a fun way to frame it maybe. Let's see.
Okay.
If you and I were creating a module for coaches,
Mhm.
a training module, like
Mhm.
what cool skills would we put in there?
About pricing? Like, for
Sure.
example, like
Yeah.
how to do this
Yes.
well, how to
Yes.
oh,
Yes.
yeah,
About
for sure.
pricing.
Okay, so a few things. One, so, like, in no particular order, one
Okay.
thing that I think would be really, rich is it's rich for everyone who sells, but coaches because of some of the reasons we talked about at the top of the conversation, would be, how to prepare to tell somebody the price tag.
Mm.
Because people hate that moment. So
Mm.
many people hate that moment that they won't do it. Like if they're having a conversation with a coaching client and the coaching client says, "Oh, Tracy, thank you so much. This is exactly, you sound like you're a perfect fit for my needs. And what does coaching with you cost?" It's people will be like, "Well, I wanna go back and review my notes and craft a program that's really personal to you. So I'll email you over a proposal, and it'll have the details of how we're gonna work together and the price in there." And it's like, you know why they're doing that? They don't wanna say, "This is, $10,000 a year, $10,000 a month, or $10,000 a day," whatever the heck the number is, right?
Mhm.
Or 1,000, what it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. They don't wanna say the number because they're afraid of what that person's gonna think, of what they're gonna say. They don't wanna see that look of shock and horror on their face. They don't wanna By the way, you're not gonna be a look of shock and horror, but they're so afraid of it, they won't do it. So and some people listening to this are like, "Well, I say it. I don't like it, but I say it." Great. Are we saying it? How are we handling that? So the right way to prepare for it and the right way to deliver it. And, here's an easy, like, kind of a jokey exercise about this. Like,
Yeah,
I'll say
and we
it to
love
them.
we love fun, right? Fun
Right,
opens up
yes,
our brain. It does
right,
it, it reduces the fear naturally, takes the cortisol down, so I
right,
like the jokey
great,
way. Let's go for it.
good, okay. Jill, what is your zip code?
76248.
That's too high.
That's hilarious.
Right? Like, it's 726 whatever 8, like, it doesn't matter, like,
No,
there's no such thing as a zip code too high,
that's
too low. Nobody's ever thought that in the history of humankind, right? But, like, so the again, extreme example, again, edge case, like, you don't
mhm.
have any emotional attachment to your zip code number.
Uh-uh.
You have none. It doesn't stress you out. You don't think I'm gonna judge you. You don't wor
Mm,
I am not suggesting that it is possible to get to the point that we can throw out a number and feel as casual a price number
yeah.
and feel as casual about it as we can our zip codes. But I think, like, if we look at that as an edge case and we say, "Okay,
Mhm.
versus how we are feeling about it, what are the things that we can do to move in that direction?" And to be
Mhm.
perfectly blunt, it's repetition. It's get
Yep,
in the
yep.
reps. It's get in the reps. It's role play. It's say it to your dog, your kids, your spouse, your mirror, your
Mm,
neighbor, your shrubbery. Just practice, practice, practice. Role play is like nobody likes it. Everybody's allergic to it, but it is so powerful for building skill and muscle and procedural memory, and also um the ability to weather the emotions of it. Because, when you role play, you really wanna imagine that there's a person across from you, and you can even ask your spouse or your friend or whatever, like, "Be
mm,
shocked when I say this number. Be like, you thought it was gonna be half as much. How would
yeah,
you react?" Right? You've gotta let yourself feel those emotions and go through that journey, for this to be as effective as possible. But why role play is so important is, another analogy. Imagine you are a passenger in a car being driven somewhere you've never been before,
'kay.
and you're talking to the driver as you drive, and
Mm,
you're paying attention, but whatever, you're looking out the window. The next day, if somebody said, "Jill, make this drive," and it was a whole bunch of turns and like, your ability to recreate that drive is iffy at best, right?
yeah, yeah.
If you switched roles with the driver and they know where they're going, but you're actually driving the car, and they say, "Turn left at this church, veer right up here after this big
Mhm.
elm tree."
Yeah,
If you had to reproduce that drive the second day, your ability to do that would be much higher. Why?
yeah.
Because you drove the darn car.
Yes.
So we have to get in the reps, we have to do the driving, we have to practice, and
Mhm,
that will make it easier to say, "My zip code is 43202, and my price for
mm,
this service is $25,000."
mhm. It just, I get this sense, like, energetically too, because I have, like, just muscle memory. My mouth has said the words, my body has felt me say the words, my ears have heard me say the words. It's familiar.
Right?
Then when I am familiar, it's, like, this is not a big deal to me,
Right.
then it doesn't give the energy to the client that it's a big deal to the client.
That
It
is you just hit on something so important, which is who's making it weird. Like, usually it's us. Like, if I make it weird, it'll be
Yes,
weird, right? Like, if I am uncomfortable, nervous, afraid, freaked out to tell you what my coaching services cost, then
yeah,
what are you getting from me? The nervous, desperate, terrified vibe.
yes,
Then I think, "What is going on here?" And I get weird because
yeah,
dogs
mhm,
and prospects can smell fear, okay?
yep,
Dogs and
yep,
prospects. So don't be like, and I'm not saying don't be afraid, because I just got done saying you might feel it, okay? But the
yeah,
the degree to which we can regulate our emotional state by having gotten the reps in and gotten some practice in will make it a lot easier to show up and not make it weird and
yeah,
not put weird energy into the conversation. Because here's the thing, they're going to buy it or they're not going to buy it. They're going to say yes or they're going to say no. And guess what? You've had people tell you no, and here you
Mhm,
sit, alive and well. Was it
yep,
fun to hear no? Sure. No, it's not. We don't love it, but you survived it. So have everybody listening to the call. So,
yes,
like, just getting more emotionally regulated around the conversation is huge for success because of what you put into the conversation energetically, but
mhm,
also, if we aren't comfortable, saying a higher number, we won't say the higher number. We'll resort to the thing we've
yep,
been charging for the past 7
yep,
years because we've been too afraid to raise
yep,
the price.
yep. I'm seeing so many, important things for coaches specifically to think about here too, is, when we talk about pricing this is at the beginning of a coaching engagement. It's,
Yeah,
or towards the beginning. And there's this thing I've been playing with that, the energy with which you begin the relationship or begin the creation or begin, um, like, begin anything with is the energy that stays with the thing. So
yes,
if I go in hesitant, nervous, with I'm thinking about myself, all of this, that's the energy that I start the coaching relationship with. And coaches, that is a you're starting from behind in that
100%.
relationship. So
It's
in coaching, there's a certain part of our coaching relationship that the coach is the leader, even if it's the energetic leader, um, not in a creepy way of like, I'm
no,
going to,
I get it.
do what I'm told,
Yeah,
but the client is coming to us for some energetic leadership.
that's right.
And if we start the relationship like that, ooh, that is hard
Yeah.
to recover from.
I've talk about this quite a bit. I think I've written at least one blog and made one video about this exact thing. Sort of a version of it. How you do anything is how you do everything,
Yes.
and especially in a professional services relationship, someone's coming to you because of your expertise and your mastery. And if you are wobbly in the negotiation and the conversation and the presentation of price and the defending of price and the handling of that's outside my budget, whatever. If you're wobbly about that, does that not cause the person on the other side of that exchange to pause and say, "Does this person really the person?" Because people see coaching for really important things in their lives, and they're trusting you with really important things, and it's like, if I should I trust you with my life and the things in my life if you are so wobbly at the beginning of this engagement? So I think how we navigate all of this is a part of our brand,
Yeah.
and the
Uh,
expertise in
yeah.
the very first
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah. It's part of our brand. It's part of our, it's part of, why they are really coming to us. Yeah.
100%.
Casey, you used the word wobbly. And, in coaching magic, we play a lot with being grounded and centered and, um, we have a practice, we call it we empty before we go into coaching. What do we empty of? Anything that's not our magic. So, anything insecurities, doubts, all of that, and then we get to be totally centered with the client. Can you, I can imagine this, "Oh, that's too expensive." And, oh, that
Yeah,
throws the coach off and we
right.
get wobbly. What are some skills or phrases that we might teach coaches here that
Mhm.
can really help us, stay grounded and centered
Yeah,
in this loving way?
sure. There's a couple of things. The first that I want to share is just again sort of back to preparation.
Okay.
So, what are I think it is worth before you sit down for a conversation that's a maybe an intake sales whatever
Mhm,
you're learning about them, and then you might work with them and they might ask you what it costs. This might happen, right?
mhm,
It's worth preparing yourself by asking when I say the number, what are all the things they might say? What are all the reactions they might
mhm.
give?
Just
Everything
to
from "Sounds great, how quickly can we start?" to "Oh my
ooh,
gosh, you're a charlatan and out of your mind," right? Like
so timeout. This
yeah,
is the coaching magic timeout. Casey just gave us some brilliance right there. When I heard her say, "List out all the things they might say," my brain immediately went to
yeah,
all of their objections. But the
negative.
first example all the negative things. The first example she gave us was, Uh, oh no, the range, again, the full range of possibilities is like, can we start tomorrow and can I please pay you $1,000,000?
Right. Can I pay this
Right?
year because I wanna get it in this tax year? Can I pay a year up front?
Why
G
isn't that a
yeah.
possibility? Oh, Casey,
Did
brilliant.
have you ever had somebody when you've quoted them and told them what say, "That sounds great. How quickly can we start?" Has that ever happened?
Oh, absolutely.
Of course it has, and of
Of
course it has
course.
for everybody listening. So, it's really important because of something I'm sure as a coach you're aware of, the idea of the negativity bias, right? We recall
Ah,
negative events with greater frequency and intensity than
mhm,
positive events, and so we
mhm,
think about they take up greater space in our brain. It's why we have to hear 20 compliments to make up for one schoolyard bully,
yes,
comment, right? So, the idea that your brain went negative is not surprising, it's very human,
mhm,
but, I'd say prepare for the great stuff too because that can be part of our grounding. Now, where we have more work to do is where it is a little bit more negative, where they say, "Oh my gosh, I've never had a coach before, and I didn't realize it was going to cost that much," or I paid my last coach X," or "I had budgeted Y," whatever the heck, right? They're going to say whatever they're going to say. Um, then I'd say, like, what are you terrified that they're gonna say? What is
mhm.
the scariest thing you can imagine happening when you say, "My coaching packages are organized like this and they cost X," right? And then, like, okay, now let's just then you say, "Okay, here's my list of possible things that happen. What do I need to do to be prepared to receive that as a response emotionally?" And then I think also, like, cast yourself into that moment and what is showing up as Jill Young loving, committed coach? Like, what is the best version of how would the best version of Jill respond to each of these things? Now, most of them are far worse than will ever actually happen, but like you prepare. Like, what is the best version of me say when somebody says this? And then you put a little thought to it. You put a little usually if you do a really good job of this list can be used for almost every meeting because a lot of times it's all the same fears and the same hopes, right? But then prepare before every meeting. Even if you've had the list, even if you've used it 10 times, just go through that list and be like, okay, if they say that, you might say it out loud and gosh, Jim, I hear you saying budget's a real issue and blah, blah, you say the words out loud. Now, why does this work? Because in the moment, when you hear those words, you're not knocked off your moorings. You've prepared for that. It's
Mhm.
one of very many options you've considered. And why that matters so much is, I'm saying I feel like a little silly saying this to the master of this, but like the importance of listening. We aren't able to listen to people if we're emotionally like tied up in our own head with our own stories. If we're like, oh my gosh, I didn't. I thought they were gonna, but we aren't. Now we are not even listening to them anymore. And so the ability to stay present in the moment is rooted in the fact that we've already prepared for this moment. We're meeting the moment we prepared for. And I think the answer now to turn that, so that's some of the stuff we can do ahead of time that is both skill set and mindset related. And then in the moment, what are some other skills we can do? Take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath. Do
Hmm.
not underestimate the power of some really, like, fundamentals when it comes to calming your neurochemistry down because your
Mhm.
amygdala is running fast and furious as soon as we start to get into weird money space,
Mhm.
and we've gotta just take a couple deep breaths. Then this is so there's I have a three-step formula for price objections.
Mm.
Prepare, pause, probe. Prepare, we've been talking about.
Yes.
Pause, take that breath, probe, ask questions. Because
Yes.
the best answer to price objection is a question. When they say, "That's a lot more than I thought it was gonna
Mhm.
be," or they say, "This is more than" I've had a couple other conversations with other coaches, and their quotes were a lot lower, and instead of rushing in and saying, because let me tell you what I see a lot that I don't love. First is,
Mhm.
like, discounting as soon as they say that, right?
Oh,
Like, that's
geez.
terrible,
Yeah.
right? And by the way, that kills trust because
Mm.
then they
Yes.
were trying to get away with something
Yes.
in the first place, which could be
Yes.
its whole own thing.
Casey, I gotta take a timeout.
Okay, alright, I'll keep my list,
Please
counter
keep your
started
list
over here.
because coaches, when we discount what the client, any client is really looking for from a coach is someone to hold ground, someone to stay stable, someone to see through their bullshit. And if they can bullshit you right away, right away they have said, "Oh,
Lost
I
trust.
think Jill is here for me as a coach." And even if it's subconscious, most of the time it is, it's like, Jill is here as a coach. And
Yeah.
then even if we agree to a coaching engagement, that coaching engagement is wobbly
Off to a
from the
tough start.
beginning. They
Off
are
to a tough start.
looking for someone who can hold their ground
I
because they
think of this
need
as
that.
call that pricing integrity, and I use integrity here in a
Mm,
structural sense, not so much a moral one. So if,
yes.
like we've got to build a house, right? And the house has to have a solid foundation. And so pricing integrity is really important. So don't rush in and discount, which is what I see too many people do. Another one I see people do sometimes is some kind of like apples to apples. I call it the fruit salad approach. Like, well, what do these other coaches propose? Because my program also includes an online course, and we get real ticky tacky with the details of the programs, and that is not why anybody hires a coach. Nobody hires a coach over the details. They hire the coach over the trust, right? And the confidence that you can stand your ground and help me see things I cannot today see that will make a meaningful difference in my life. It isn't about the structure ever. So don't get bogged down in trying to compare structures with another coach. So stay away from fruit salad. So don't discount, it kills trust. Don't do the fruit salad thing. And then the other one that I sometimes see is like just like verbal vomit. Just we start talking about how all the certifications we have or how we can like whatever. We start throwing up proof points in our minds that tell them we're worth that number. But here's a paradox. When somebody says, "Oh, that's more than I like," if we get a price objection, it's actually a buying signal. A price objection is a buying signal because if they didn't have any interest in hiring you as a coach, they wouldn't bother trying to talk to you about your price point because they wouldn't care. They wouldn't want it. They'd be like, oh, okay, great. Thanks so much for this. Talk to you never, right? They'd say something polite to end the conversation and they'd walk
And I've
away.
had that
But
happen before too.
for
And I'm like,
sure, because we're
"Oh,
not everybody isn't for everybody, right?
yep."
But sometime when they are starting to engage with you on a conversation about the number, that means they're interested. And so we are getting a buying signal from our customer. And we don't know, and is if we're doing all the talking, we know they're interested, but we don't really know why yet, and we don't know how much that weight that carries, right? And we're never going to figure that out if we do all the talking. So we've got to ask questions.
Mm.
We've got to ask questions. So like, tell me, so I hear you saying you talked to a few other coaches, and great, that's a really smart idea. You really want to find the right fit. Always affirm, 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 right? Like I hear
Yep.
you saying this, and I think this is
Yep.
smart. You're smart. It's really good that you do this. Um, Let me ask you a question. If let's just imagine a moment that we could just erase all the price differences. Like every single proposal you got from every single coach was exactly the same number. Who would be the best fit for you? And then this is real important. When you ask that question, where don't put a comma where the question mark could go. Because so many people don't hush up and listen to the answer. Is
Yes.
it because I did? Is it because no, just ask the question and then pipe down and listen to them. And this is back to the importance of the preparation because you can't listen to them if your mind's spinning like a lunatic because you didn't
Mhm.
prepare for the things they might have said. But if
Mm.
you can actually hear them, well, yeah, I'd go with you, Jill. Okay, can you help me understand what it is about how we've engaged so far,
Mm.
what you've experienced with me as a coach that has you answer that way? And then again, hush
Mm.
up and listen. And you're going to hear something in that answer that is going to give you insight into why they actually are giving you that buying signal and how much it matters to them. And then very often in the course of that, those price differences or the price objection evaporates. Like because they are now you are asking them to reconnect with their emotional needs around this coaching.
Yes,
And
we're
it's
asking
and
them.
then they buy.
Yeah, we're asking them to listen to themselves.
100%.
Listen
100%.
to themselves. They're talking about what they need, why they're connected. And I don't even want to use this word, but I'm going to because it feels maybe simple, but they're convincing themselves.
100%. 100%.
And they're really just teaching themselves. Maybe that's a better
Yeah,
they're
they're
becoming familiar.
illustrating, yeah, illuminating is a word I
Mm,
would say. They're
thank
illuminating
you.
for themselves what's really important. I think there's
Mm,
other and I'm a
ruminating.
brain science and psychology geek a bit. And there's something called instinctive elaboration, which is where our brains get hijacked by a question. Like our brains are wired such that we are physiologically incapable of considering anything else but that question for a
Yep,
very short period of time. So if I said
yep.
to you, "What color's your shirt?" like, for a half a second, maybe an eighth of a second, you're like, "Oh, my shirt," like, "Oh, why you got multi oh, why is she asking me about my shirt?" You're not thinking, "What is my next question I'm gonna ask Casey?" You're not thinking, "What's for lunch later?" You're thinking about that. Now, why that matters in this discussion that could otherwise be a bit of a push-pull about numbers is people love to buy, but they hate to be sold to. People love to
Mm.
buy, but they hate to be sold to. So as soon as they say this is outside my budget, if you start telling them how this, this is really important, really important to their life and they need to find the budget. I mean, you would do it in a more diplomatic way. But as soon as you're pushing back against them, this creates this push,
Mm.
push, but we have resistance happening, and we can't help them, and they can't hire us if we're leaned in on resistance. So
Mm-mm.
I'm a big fan of interrupting resistance, and resistance is possible when impossible when we're asking questions. Like, oh, I'm hearing you say budget is a real challenge. Can I just help me understand that a little bit more? By the way, if you're like, I buy what you're saying, Casey. Questions are good. I don't know what questions to ask. Tell me. I mean, you guys are question masters, right? But tell me more about that. How did like let me hear more. I want to make sure I understand you correctly. Can you help me understand that better? Whatever. Just pull,
Just
and
question.
people will talk because they're dying to talk.
It's so lovely that tell me more,
Yeah.
keep going, go
Yeah.
on, say more
Yeah.
about that.
Right.
It gets to the issue under the issue. I've
Uh
had
huh.
so many instances where a potential client would say, "Do this." They go, "Oh my gosh, we can't afford that."
Yeah.
And I just say more about that.
Yeah.
This and this and our this and our this. I'm like, "Oh wow, those sound like some things you really you're
Those
really
are really
passionate
a
about.
big
Tell me
deal. Yeah.
more about that." And we
Yeah.
keep going on, and by the end of the thing, they're like, "When can we start?"
A
And
hundred percent.
I haven't talked to by the
Well,
time I'm done, they have illuminated and thought about my price and the value and how they and I've not said a word about it.
right.
I just say,
Right.
Tell me more," and then I'm clearly really listening and being present in that moment.
Another one that I think is yes to all of that, exclamation point behind all of it. I would say also it's worth thinking about what questions can we ask about the emotions that accompany this stuff.
Mhm,
It's like that's too much money.
mhm,
You tell me more, and it's like you can do a, situational. Tell me about a time that,
mhm,
too much money, got in your way. Tell me about like, is this a thing for you? Is this
mhm,
commonly, you could do, it depends on your familiarity at that point,
mhm.
right? It's got to be appropriate. But I'm also like, as in the scenario you were talking with, like, oh my gosh, it's too much money. And you say, and tell me more about that and how and the more they talk, and they'll be like, and then I have so much scar tissue because I hired this coach 5 years ago, and it was a pile of money, and it was awful, and blah, blah, and don't argue with that because that's their real experience, and say, "Oh my gosh, that must have been really frustrating. I can see why, you could, find a price, what you're perceiving as a high price tag to be." I'm not getting the words right, but
Yeah.
you just empathize and listen and ask, this, by the way, I wish well, I'm gonna send the link to this episode to people who are not coaches because I think people assume that this stuff we're talking about is true because of the nature of what coaches sell. But this asking questions and being empathetic and mining for emotional connection to the problem, and this is if you sell industrial bolts and fasteners to a procurement agent,
Same
it's
thing,
exactly the same thing.
same thing.
It's
I
exactly the same thing.
I don't know if it's a dream, a theory, I don't know what it is. It's something in my mind that, I have this wish, maybe it's a wish, that
Okay.
every single human being on the planet, will have coaching skills. Every single human being. And why is that? Because I really want passionately for every human being on the planet to have a coach. But have a friend who is skilled in a coaching skill, have a salesperson who is skilled, have a financial planner who knows coaching,
Yeah.
just like it, just a little bit because of this. Uh, Everyone loves to buy, no one loves to be sold to. And
Yeah.
we're even when we're buying, okay, so we're kind of talking about money and buying a product or a
But it's
service.
buying
But what
ideas. It's
about
all the
what if
same.
yes, what about buying a new mindset?
100%.
All right. What
100%.
about yes, what about buying time with your partner? There's a whole bunch of things in there
Yeah.
that we can say yes to and
for sure. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I wanna take a little recap because there's so much gold in here. You have a three-step process: prepare, pause, probe.
Mhm.
And let's give some distinctions to those because 'cause I'm feeling them coming in. The opposite of prepare is what? What word comes to you?
Showing up and winging it.
Wing it.
And it
Agreed.
we trust because we've been successful doing this in the past that it'll be fine, and it will be. It just doesn't maximize
Mhm.
your
Yeah.
opportunity.
And coaches, I have also found that we're big on preparation and coaching magic. I mean, we're
Right.
so big on it, we say it 4 times. Prepare, prepare,
Prepare,
prepare,
prepare,
prepare.
prepare.
Why? Because it felt fun.
Yeah.
Um, because it's so important.
100%.
And let's all be aware that you can prepare in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
You can prepare in 30 seconds. In the beginning, you might want to do lots of practice and rehearsal,
Sure.
all of that. But there are days where it's like, oh, here we are. And I'm transitioning from this to this. Okay, and I'm prepared.
Yeah. Right.
So prepare or wing it. That's fun.
Yeah.
Pause. What's the opposite of pause?
Uh, Pounce. Just
That's
react, and especially from a place of fight or flight. That is really what I'm trying to fight with the pause, is that fight or flight mode kicking in because we get panicky. And especially in professional services spaces where people are coming to us for
yeah,
our expertise, not having the answer ready is like a really panicky feeling for a lot of people
yeah,
who are supposed to be and I can relate to this because I'm a lot better now, but especially early in my career, imposter syndrome was a huge issue for me. And I felt like I had an idea of because I didn't have any professionals in my family. We're all blue collar. So
right.
I had like a caricature of what I thought a professional said, did, acted like, walked,
Hmm.
talked, dressed like, right? And I was trying to be that. And, so the all of that came from fight or flight. All that came from fear. And so that's what I'm trying to fight with that
Hmm.
pause, is just to kind of get grounded,
Hmm.
recenter, feel
Hmm.
yourself in your body, know that whatever this person says on the other end of it, you're going to be alive. You're going to,
Yep.
this call is going to end and it's going to be fine.
And then we're gonna go eat lunch,
Right.
and we're gonna walk the dog. I mean, it's
Right.
just all right here. I love this.
100%.
So, we've got, prepare or wing it, pause or pounce. I really like it. And probe, what's coming up for you? The opposite of probe is
Tell.
mm,
We've got to ask, not
yep.
tell. We've got to, or maybe better, and it's nice because it goes with a P theme. Prove. Don't probe, prove.
Ooh.
So now I gotta come up with a better one for the first one, because then we'll have all
Yeah,
Ps.
yeah, I mean, we need
Yeah, I'll work
alliteration.
on this.
We love
Yeah.
alliterations. You said prove. Oh, that sounds so good. I'm a big fan of words, and they have energy to them.
Mhm,
Probe versus prove, I can feel that. I had another word coming into it was probe versus present. And
mhm.
now I'm
Yeah, another
present
great
you
one.
all of my,
I mean,
but I still like prove. Prove
yeah,
has a little bit of that. I'm gonna prove that
yeah.
I'm worth it. Oh, Casey, I feel like we put a really good module together for coaches.
Yeah, yeah,
Great.
yeah.
Is
We'll
there
name a module 2, because
I
there's
know,
more to do.
we'll just keep going. Um, you said earlier, and I'm just gonna kind of weave all of this together. Um, you said earlier, uh, um, that you've worked with lots of coaches,
Sure.
lots of
Mhm,
coaches, um, that they love the coaching, but then they hate the business development. And I'm using the words, the
mhm.
extreme words on
Yeah,
purpose.
sure.
And it's been my experience when I'm coaching coaches, I teach them we're going to love it all. We again, because the energy with which we create the relationship, can you imagine you're like, I hate business development, and then you go in and I got to sell today, and that, like,
Right.
oh my gosh, that is really
Yeah.
hard to recover from. And I feel, coaches, when you hear me say that, let's love it all, I feel like Casey just gave us this beautiful formula for just loving it a little more. Yeah, there's going to be some, different feelings. That's cool. But these three steps of prepare, pause, probe is just a way, coaches, that we can enter the
Mhm.
love of, in coaching magic, we call it creating clients.
Yeah. Yeah.
creating clients, this probing, this asking of these loving questions,
Mhm.
um, illuminates, thank you. The
Yes.
client can illuminate their own best self,
Yeah.
and in your loving presence, coach, they're like, "Ah, I feel illuminated. I feel progress." And uh, that's how we wanna start the relationship.
I just thought of this as a sort of a thought experiment people could
Yeah.
engage in if this is tricky for them,
Oh,
which is
please.
like, if they didn't need to ask anybody for money,
Mhm,
like if either money didn't exist in our society
mhm,
or they had
mhm,
$70 billion in their bank
mhm,
account and they had to show up for this, this call today
mhm,
with a prospective client, like what would be different?
mhm,
Like it's the it's so like would you think I every time and I've worked with several coaches. I love coaches. I'm a super believer in it. Anytime I've ever met with somebody who I'm considering as a coach, they
mhm.
start coaching right away. They're asking me
Yes,
lots of questions. We're talking
that's
like that's
that's
the way,
right.
right?
That's
Um, so a quote unquote sales call. What I don't know what you probably have a coaching magic term for these calls, but if
invitations, we call them
invitation.
invitations.
Okay,
Yeah,
great. In an invitation call, you get to do the thing you love and you're great at.
that's right.
That is very exciting to me because that is not true for most people who have discovery calls, sales calls, invitation calls.
Right.
Because we don't get to do the thing we're great at necessarily in that call. You guys do, which is awesome.
Hmm.
So, so the idea that we would dread this, it's like you get to do something you are put on this earth to do. You get to help someone. And by the way, this is really important. This is my definition of selling. It is not about manipulation or cajoling or convincing. It's about helping someone get what they want.
Yes.
And if we stay deeply committed to that highest purpose, I'm having an invitation call today because I want to help Jerry get what he wants. I want to help Susie get what she wants. And I'm going to do everything I can to help her get it. Now, if I'm the right coach, I might or might not be, right? But if I believe and she believes that I'm the right coach for her, if I don't do this, if I don't engage in this process, then I can't help her. It I think of, people have, like, kind of their head wrong about selling, like, it's, like, this thing that they have to do, but it's, like, it's the thing we get to do
Yeah.
because it's the access point to the thing we're born for.
That
It's
yes.
they can't access your greatness if they don't hire you as a coach, and be, you cannot embody that greatness if you don't have that opportunity, so if we keep really clear about what we're actually trying to accomplish, like, it's not a sale. It's making information, really clear to people. It's helping them uncover things and illuminate things for themselves such that they can make a prudent choice for themselves. And that choice will be yes or it will be no. And either one is fine. And my zip code is not too high. And then I'll move on with my day and away I'll go.
Casey, I love your definition of sales, and I'm going to layer our definition of coaching on top of that. And I
Great.
think this will just be a beautiful way to wrap up the podcast. Our definition of coaching is just helping someone become their best. Casey's definition of sales is helping someone get what they want. And then I'm going to geek out and add Maslow in here. Maslow says, what one can be, one must be. We are driven to be our best. So in coaches, in us creating creative spaces where we can invite people into our coaching space in this loving, open way. Oh my goodness, we're helping everyone get what they want and
Right?
helping the whole planet become more conscious and more loving, and because that's what the world needs is more people being their version of their best.
100%.
Oh wow.
Couldn't agree
Casey,
more.
Casey, you have been so helpful. I can already feel the ripple effect of this episode helping so many coaches. Thank you so much.
It was an
Um,
absolute joy to collaborate and create with you today. Thanks so much.
well, we have one more thing we like to do on the Coaching Magic podcast, and we like to play a game. Would you like
Okay.
to play a game?
I love games.
Okay. I am going to shuffle this really cool oracle deck. It's called
Mhm.
the Sweet Ass Affirmations.
Okay.
They're fun. They're fun. And I'm going to hold up a card, just the card I choose. And then you get to say what comes up for you with this card, and I get to say what comes up for me.
I love it.
And then you get to decide who goes first because you're the guest. Here's
Okay.
the card. Wow. Here it is. Ready?
Yeah.
I love it. Glasses on.
Yeah,
I
I have and
blast.
I've made it okay. I
Perfect.
blast.
I blast
Okay,
past my
great.
limitations and milk the opportunity. You guys, if you're listening to this only, there's a goat on the tag.
And there's a joke in the last word,
Okay.
opportunity.
Oh my gosh.
Did you see that?
It's like when I say dude. It's like when I say doo doo. I'm like, oh, I just said doo doo.
Yeah. Milk
Opportunity.
the opportunity.
There opportunity. I've never seen that, Casey. I
Uh,
milk the opportunity.
I
It's
am
true.
I'm a typo catching machine, and it's not a typo, that's obviously intentional. I always catch that stuff.
I love it.
Opportunity.
Well, maybe that's what came up for you is
Yeah.
she sees the joke.
Yeah, yeah, I yes. So what comes up for me is, how did you say the words? Pattern recognition outside the
Mm.
conscious, right? Say
Conscious awareness. Yeah.
I bet yeah, outside conscious awareness. I bet you a whole bunch of people could look at that card and read opportunity, and I see opportunity, right? And it's like w that can be, I can be nitpicky and detail oriented in ways that are not particularly helpful. But I also think the ability to see these patterns and be able to be playful about it and laugh at it and that it's an opportunity for me to bring my my some of these weird special ways my brain works and turn it into a gift and an opportunity for the world.
Casey, thank you for illuminating us on this one. What came up for me here is I blast past my limitations and milk the opportunity. Um, there's a goat on here, and sometimes we talk about goat as greatest of all time.
Mhm.
And one thing that comes up for me is this uh, one thing that I do to prepare for coaching sessions is I remind myself that I am the greatest of all time. I'm the greatest. I'm the best coach on the whole entire planet. And then sometimes coaches, if you're like, wow, she is really confident. It's, I am the very best coach for this client in this moment at this time
On the whole
because I
entire
am, because this is what we've chosen to do. This is the call I've chosen to put on my calendar. And this is the opportunity for both of us to just enter into our greatest of all time. And the
Mhm.
greatest of all time is in this moment. So that's one of the things that I do to prepare.
Can I can I know this is supposed to be the end, but I just thought of
No.
one more thing. Can I
Yes,
give you one more
please.
thing?
Oh, we
I
love the
just
one more things.
this is especially important for people who sell who are not professional salespeople, whose chosen path is not sales, and this is certainly true for coaches. And it gets back to that discomfort around the selling part of the job, and they don't like that, and
Mm,
I edge case, I will be intentionally provocative here. I don't feel this as strongly as I'm gonna say it, but how dare you make this call about yourself? How dare you?
yeah.
You're a coach. You're supposed
Yeah.
to be committed to that person, and if you're in your head thinking, worrying, troubling yourself over the number conversation, you're making it about you, and how dare you?
Mm,
And I don't mean it that strongly, right? Because there's a lot of reasons that stuff comes up for us. It's natural that it does, but if it's a lot sometimes easier for people to embrace what I teach when it's about helping the other more so than helping
mhm,
themselves. And if
mhm,
this can help them, but
mhm,
if I make this effort, this prepare, pause, probe, all that
mhm,
about the other person and I'm going to be who
mm,
they need me to be, not who I'm
mm.
going to be stuck in. So that's why I kind of sometimes challenge people with this. How dare you make it about you?
Yeah. How dare you? I love that. It is provocative. It makes you
Yeah.
think. It's a pattern interrupt. Whoop! Because I meant
I love
stuck in
those.
a pattern. I'm
I
stuck in a
love
pattern.
those.
Casey, thank you for the PS on that. A little PS
Sure.
tool. right?
Sure.
It's about the moment. It's about the client. It's about the coaching moment. Mm.
100%.
Casey, thank you for being such a good friend of Coaching Magic. We love you so much. If someone were to want to get a hold of you, they want to know more about this,
Mhm.
what's the best way to get Casey Brown insights?
Okay, well, there's plenty of free ones on LinkedIn and YouTube and our website. Our website is boostpricing.com. I also have a personal website, caseybrown.com, which is largely around my speaking and my book. Yeah, we have a resources tab on our boostpricing.com website that has blogs and videos and all kinds of free resources. If anybody wanted to reach out and explore, how we help clients, there's a contact form on that site, or you can just email us at info@boostpricing.com. And that's
Awesome.
boost like the energy drink, pricing like the best way to make money.
Yeah, I like that. How would you ever forget that? And coaches, I'll just give one more plug for Casey and her work with my clients, my business clients. Um, it has been transformative. So if your clients are struggling with pricing, or you get down to the root issue of like, I think this might be a pricing issue, Casey is the one to call in. Thanks, Casey.
Thanks, Jill. It was a delight.
Today's episode is brought to you by one of my favorite coaching books, The Coaching Habit by Michael Bungay Stanier. In this book, it gives a simple 7 questions for coaches to really dig to the issue under the issue. Plus, it's very accessible for your clients as well. And it's also helping me live my big dream of everyone becoming a coach and grabbing some really useful coaching skills. I highly recommend it. If you want to geek out on coaching, just like Casey and I are geeking out on coaching right now in the podcast, if you want to do this with me, please visit coachingmagic.com. There are live events, there are virtual events, and of course, Coaching Magic at its core is a community. If you're a passionate, dedicated coach looking for community, I invite you to join us there.